What is a protected characteristic and how can we teach about them in the classroom? You will have heard the term protected characteristic used in the news, during training or in staff meetings. But what does it actually mean and how can you teach pupils of all ages about them? Hiya everyone, I'm Zoe from My Progression and today we're unpacking a topic that affects every classroom in the UK, protected characteristics. A protected characteristic is part of a person's identity that is legally safeguarded from discrimination under the Equality Act 2010. This UK law exists to protect people from being treated unfairly in school, at work, in public and in all aspects of their life. Effectively, protected characteristics are to ensure equality in everyday life. We have protected characteristics to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, respectfully and equally, no matter who they are. As of 2025, there are 9 protected characteristics, including age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, and sexual orientation. These characteristics reflect the diversity of the UK and help define people's identities, whether they're visible or not. Throughout the video, I may not speak about every protected characteristic explicitly, however, the teaching approaches will apply to all. By the end of the video, you'll understand why protected characteristics matter so much in schools and most importantly, how to teach about them with confidence, even with a tight timetable. Regardless of your role in a school, it's vital that you understand protected characteristics to ensure that you're teaching children in an age-appropriate way and providing equal opportunities for all. So keep watching. So why does this matter in education? Let's look at some real-world examples. If a pupil with a disability isn't given equal access to learning, that's discrimination. If a staff member experiences prejudice due to their religion or a same-sex couple that isn't treated with the same respect as others, that's discrimination too. In schools, our role is not just to avoid discrimination, but to actively promote fairness, respect and belonging for every child and adult in our community. Discrimination can show up in different ways. Firstly, direct discrimination. This is where someone is treated unfairly because of a protected characteristic, such as making a derogatory comment or excluding someone. Then there's indirect discrimination. It's when rules or policies unintentionally disadvantage someone. For example, a school uniform that doesn't account for religious dress or a PE rule that overlooks physical disabilities. Both forms of discrimination can impact a pupil's well-being, confidence and ability to learn. They are also both a safeguarding concern, and if this is something that you witness, it should be reported through the usual safeguarding process. Discrimination should be part of every school's behaviour policy, so if you're on supply, ensure that you're aware of how to handle incidents of this. If you're interested in this topic, hit the thumbs up to give us a like, and if you want to see more from My Progression, subscribe to our channel so you never miss new content. Inclusion is something we are exceptionally passionate about, and we love to help our subscribers make a difference to the young minds that they teach. We've got a range of videos linked to protected characteristics, including creating an inclusive classroom and top 10 tips to challenge gender stereotypes in education. So check them out once you finish watching this. So how can you teach about protected characteristics in the classroom? You don't need to rewrite your whole scheme of work to bring protected characteristics into your teaching. Instead, look for simple, natural opportunities to embed it into daily practice. I'm going to recommend some texts for different age groups throughout this video. As an educator, it's important that you think about how your class texts reflect different cultures, family structures, and other protected characteristics. An interesting insight on this that I would recommend using when planning texts is the idea of metaphors. Professor Bishop from Ohio State University introduced the metaphor of windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors to explain how children see themselves reflected in books, how they can learn about the lives of others and appreciate the rich diversity of society through reading. Mirrors enable children to see themselves in the text. By honouring children's diverse cultural identities in books and other texts, you can support them to see that in their own life. Windows let the reader look upon unfamiliar cultural spaces and view worlds that are not like their own. For some children, stories might be the only place that they meet people from other cultural backgrounds. And finally, sliding glass doors invite the reader to step into other cultural worlds to emphasise with the feelings of characters and better understand the diverse world that they live in. Let's move on to teaching about the protected characteristics in different year groups. Firstly, starting with young children. It's your role as an educator to teach the values behind protected characteristics, like kindness, fairness and inclusion. In the EYFS and Key Stage 1, protected characteristics should focus on laying the emotional and social groundwork through play, stories and routine experiences. The key is to teach the values behind the laws, not the specific laws themselves. So how can you teach about the protected characteristics in the EYFS? Firstly, use storybooks. Share stories that celebrate differences and discuss them simply, allowing young children to share their thoughts. Storytelling is the most powerful tool in the EYFS to teach important messages. 2 books that I would really recommend are, firstly, Red, A Crayon Story by Michael Hall. This book uses the metaphor of a blue crayon labelled red to discuss identity and labels. Next, It's Okay to be Different by Todd Parr, a book that celebrates diversity and encourages children to embrace their unique qualities. As well as using books, it's important to make use of roleplay and puppets. Include diverse dolls, props and scenarios to explore inclusion and empathy in play. Set activities where children have to act out situations about inclusion, kindness and standing up for others. As well as this, consider how you can use creative activities. Think about how your planned activities in different areas of the curriculum link to learning about diversity and the protected characteristics. For example, you could have a PSHE display that celebrates equality and belonging, decorated in your pupils' work. Children could create family trees or posters that represent different types of families, or draw self-portraits in art to show that everyone is different. In music, use songs and rhymes to reinforce the importance of friendships, respect, and celebrating differences. As well as this, always use circle time and class discussions. Keep messages simple and consistently use phrases such as be kind and include everyone. Encourage class discussions by asking thoughtful questions and encourage children to think about sharing different ideas. Some questions you could ask to start a conversation are, what makes us different? And how can we make everyone feel included? Moving on to Key Stage 2. Teaching Key Stage 2 pupils about protected characteristics can be more direct than in earlier years, while still being age appropriate, discussion-based and focused on values like fairness, respect and inclusion. In Key Stage 2, you are building on what the children have learned about the protected characteristics in the EYFS and Key Stage 1. As a Key Stage 2 educator, you should help children understand that everyone has the right to be treated equally and with respect and kindness, no matter their background, identity or life circumstances. It's important that you introduce the concept simply, for example, saying, in the UK, there are rules to make sure everyone is treated fairly, regardless of who they are. These are called protected characteristics. Examples of books that you could use with Key Stage 2 are And Tango Makes Three by Justin Richardson and Peter Parnell, a children's book based on a true story about 2 male penguins who raise a chick, promoting equality for LGBTQ+ communities. The Boy in the Back of the Class by Anjali Wolf, a children's book about a refugee's experience and the struggles they face. And Wonder by R.J. Palacio, a powerful novel that explores themes of disability, kindness and acceptance through the story of a boy with a severe facial condition. Throughout the curriculum, use a wide range of role models that represent different protected characteristics, such as Ada Lovelace in maths, Martin Luther King in history, and Ellie Simmons in PE. Discuss the amazing things that they've achieved and how they didn't let discrimination stop them. As well as this, in Key Stage 2, you should encourage class discussions by asking open questions about equality, diversity and fairness. When you're teaching this, use real-life case studies or scenarios. For example, what would you do if a classmate was being left out for wearing a head covering or for having 2 mums? Pupils should feel that in their school, especially in their classroom, it's a safe space for them to talk about their identities and to learn how to respect others. Finally, in Key Stage 3 and 4, I would recommend reading texts with more serious storylines, perhaps with real-life elements to teach about the protected characteristics. These include Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, The first book in her series, Noughts and Crosses, uses speculative fiction to examine themes of race, power and discrimination. Also, there's The Art of Being Normal by Lisa Williamson. This novel focuses on gender identity, specifically the experience of a transgender teenager. The story explores gender reassignment and acceptance, also self-expression in an age-appropriate manner. Teaching staff in Key Stage 3 and 4 should help students understand why these characteristics are protected by law. They should promote fairness, prevent discrimination, and ensure everyone is treated with respect. Lessons should include clear definitions, real-life case studies, and discussions that help pupils relate to the characteristics to their everyday situations. To make learning meaningful in Key Stage 3 and 4, use debates, role play, media clips, literature, and creative writing to explore topics such as racism, gender equality, and LGBTQ+ rights. Activities should encourage empathy, critical thinking, and respectful dialogue, allowing students to reflect on their own identities and understand the impact of discrimination. The aim is to build not only knowledge of the law, but a sense of responsibility in standing up for equality and inclusion. Moving on to whole school approaches. You should be celebrating events like Pride Month, Black History Month, Neurodiversity Week, or Interfaith Week within schools, regardless of the age of the pupils. These should be a planned part of your curriculum and consist of age-appropriate messages and activities. By giving assemblies a theme and sharing a story, song, or YouTube video, you will engage children in learning about the protected characteristics. A great way to engage pupils in these events is to have external speakers and guests. This will ensure the sessions are engaging and memorable, meaning the messages will be ingrained into the children's values. If you want some advice on how to embed pride into any of the curriculum, or you want any event suggestions, I'd recommend getting in touch with Ian Timbrow from More Than Flags and Rainbows. He's a friend of the channel and is always a really helpful support when we put together any videos about inclusion. As well as this, as a whole school approach, you need to ensure that the different protected characteristics are linked to school values. Model expected behaviour, encourage diverse friendships, and celebrate different cultures and families. Ensure you create inclusive daily routines and expectations and consistently promote the use of inclusive language. Now, some educators worry about teaching protected characteristics, with common thoughts being, what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if parents challenge me? That's totally understandable, but teaching protected characteristics isn't about having all the answers. It's about creating a safe space for respect and curiosity. You don't need to deliver a special lesson every week. Just keep inclusion and fairness part of your everyday language. It shouldn't be a topic that causes any upset, and if a debate does occur within your classroom that causes any children to start to feel uncomfortable, it's important that you intervene and that you continue to set the expected behaviour standard. Understanding protected characteristics is more than just ticking a box. It's about making your classroom and the school a place where every child and every staff member feels seen, safe and valued. It's not about being politically correct, it's about being fair, kind and being a human being. If this video helped you to understand protected characteristics a little more clearly, give it a like and subscribe to My Progression for more content to support you in your career in education. If you've got any questions, lesson ideas or challenges that you face around inclusion, drop them in the comments below. We always love hearing your thoughts. I've been Zoe from My Progression. Let's keep your career in motion.